What's up everybody, Jeff here, and if you've been following my channel and my various social medias over the past few weeks, you probably know that I've been getting into a game called The Drowned Earth. Now there's a couple of reasons why this game called my attention. It's got dinosaurs. I friggin' love dinosaurs. It's got a really interesting aesthetic, the game system is really fast and dynamic, and I think the models are really nice quality. But if you know this channel, then you know that what I'm really here for is the lore. And The Drowned Earth takes place in a post-apocalypse that's got some really interesting and unique characteristics to it. And if you're not familiar with it yet, then you've come to the right place, because in this video, I'm going to take you through all the basics to get you started in the setting. So if you like this video and you want to see more content from me about the Drowned Earth, make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share it around with some of your friends. In the description, you're going to find a link to the Discord, so if you want to come hang out, please do. And you'll also find a link to the Patreon if you'd like to support the channel directly. I'd appreciate it, and you can get some cool benefits. And now, welcome to the Drowned Earth. The land of Ulaya is populated by many sentient species who live in cities, villages, and tribes. And it's not uncommon to find them coexisting peacefully. Some get along better than others, and a few settlements exist that are exclusively comprised of one species, but it's much more common to find towns and villages with multiple species living in it. These settlements are spread out, and in between is the vast expanse of the jungle, which is known to be very dangerous for many reasons, not the least of which is the presence of dinosaurs. The landscape is covered in forests, jungles, and swamplands, and is also littered with the ruins of a lost civilization. That civilization has come to be known as the Builders, and what happened to them is a mystery. What we do know is that a few hundred years ago, a mysterious cataclysm that's come to be known as the event changed the face of the world forever. Though no one knows exactly what the event was, people speak of a time of darkness, extreme cold and heat, and raging floods that led to a period of extreme hardship and the collapse of the Builder civilization. For at least 100 years after the event, the few people who survived lived a brutal life in constant terror and struggling to survive the elements. Slowly over time, civilization began to return, and the few scattered nomads began settling down and forming villages and towns. These towns have slowly grown into cities, but these pockets of civilization are still relatively sparse in a land dominated by nature. As a result, some people still live nomadic or Bronze Age lifestyles, while the more advanced cities live in a period that's closer to the Industrial Revolution, having access to some advanced technology that was either scavenged from the ruins of the Builders or developed from their own scientific discoveries. The ruins of the great Builder civilization can be found all across Ulaya. These structures are old, crumbling, and overgrown, and as a result can be dangerous, as many of them are unstable and prone to collapse. However, they're also a great source of resources and technology. This advanced tech can greatly improve the lives of the people, and so its recovery and study is highly valued to most of Ulayan society. As a result, teams of artifactors have cropped up who make a career out of delving into these ruins to find any bits of lost treasure that they can. In addition, scientists and engineers study the artifacts to see which bits can still be put to use. Energy sources and weapons are some of the most highly sought after artifacts, but most of the things that are found in a usable form were ancient even to the Builders, because the things that were most likely to survive the ages were whatever was preserved in museums and storehouses. Some people have even dedicated themselves to studying the Builders, and these scientists and scholars operate out of universities that have come to be known as esoterica. However, their discoveries are not well known to the general public, who largely don't concern themselves with such trivial pursuits. Many people work as farmers, and the land of Ulaya can be difficult to survive off of. Some food crops died out as a result of the event, but in the case of pineapples and plantains, they were able to be revived from seed vaults. In addition to plant farms, settlements on the coast will also establish fish farms, and it's not uncommon to see entire towns built on the water, on boardwalks or stilts. But there are also other professions, such as craftsmen, engineers, and scientists, and manufacturing is even performed in a limited scope. The different settlements have even developed sophisticated governmental systems and economies, which has led to a need for administrators, soldiers, traders, and merchants. Many smaller settlements will grow along trade routes established by the larger industrial cities. Maps have been found from before the event, but they're mostly useless as the landscape changed so much as a result. Communication between the different settlements is usually done by courier, but some are lucky enough to have radios that allows them to communicate over longer distances. Wind and water power are in common use, but in some cases steam power is also harnessed. Petroleum engines have been made by skilled craftsmen and are mostly used for watercraft, though gasoline is very rare and hard to come by. These powered boats are the fastest way to travel on water, but on land it's more common to go by foot or animal-drawn cart. Building is mostly done using wood, and is most often performed by individual craftsmen, though there is some industrial-scale construction. While many more fragile forms of record-keeping have not survived the ages, some scholars have been able to recover working thinking engines, which have recorded information from the Builders from before the event. One of the things they've discovered this way is that the Builder society seems to be devoid of non-human sentience. The reason for this is a hotly debated and divisive topic. Before the event, human society was dominated by corporations. This led to a lack of regulation, and human scientists were allowed to work on genetic engineering and synthetic biology without being tied down by regulation or ethics. This, combined with a luxurious and decadent lifestyle, allowed the humans to make improvements to their health and appearance, and to maintain a protein source while nature was in decline. But they also took it a step further, and eventually began engineering animals with human DNA, and then used the creatures to perform tasks that humans were not well suited to. This is thought to be the origin of all the non-human sentience that exist in the world to this day. Historians who understand this tend to keep the information to themselves, because modern humans have little in common with the horrible nature of their ancient ancestors, and they don't want to stir up trouble between the species, who generally get along well. There are many non-human sentient species across Alaya, and they all share a lot in common, though some are more common than others. Each of them has a great deal of variation within the species, but also have certain characteristics that make them distinct from humans. The Dverg look much like humans, though stockier and shorter. They appear to have been engineered to be a hardy workforce, and they have very efficient muscles, which allows them to do physical labor for extended periods of time. They also have night vision, can subsist off of fungus that would otherwise have very little nutritional value, and need very little sleep. They're very practical, and tend to do well as engineers, architects, craftsmen, and traders. They tend to make things that are very utilitarian, but are not particularly fancy and lacking in aesthetics. The saurians are also physically very similar to humans, though with some slight differences, especially in terms of their appearance. They're a little faster and better swimmers, and have poorer hearing but better smell. Their vision is worse, but they can see better at night, and they're agile, but have worse manual dexterity. Saurians have two main subspecies, the archodontids, or archosaurians, and the therapsid saurians, or theraps. The theraps are more robust, and have larger foot claws, and horns around their face. The archodontids get along better with other species, and therefore have a wider distribution across the continent. The species tends to be very patient and thoughtful, so they make very good scouts. Their culture values singing, dancing, and storytelling, and they tend to be very peaceful, so they tend to avoid jobs that have a martial focus. The Berengi look almost exactly like ancient gorillas, but they eat meat and can speak. They're relatively few in number, and have very different cultures, depending on which part of the continent they come from. They tend to be very philosophical, and sometimes even border on pacifist. They value silence and listening, and have an interest in the greater good. On the other hand, their physical size makes them formidable, and they're often found in jobs that require physical work, and they keep their thinking as a secondary pursuit. There are many other sentient species, but the rest tend to be found in very small numbers, and there's no way to know how many of them are yet unknown. A particularly unusual species are the Zokal, as it's not entirely clear what type of animal they were genetically engineered from. They have a somewhat feline appearance, but purple skin and tendrils in place of hair, which have led some to speculate that parts of their DNA may have been entirely invented. They tend to live a nomadic lifestyle as hunter-gatherers, and their violent social norms have led outsiders to mistrust them and consider them to be primitive and uncivilized. Many changes to the ecology of the world were underway during the time of the builders. Human encroachment into nature, as well as unsustainable exploitation of natural resources, had caused a mass extinction. It seems that the people decided to begin reviving extinct species to try to fill in the gaps in the food chain and create some stability. Rather than just bringing back the animals that went extinct, they decided to reach back into the past and revive animals from the Cretaceous period, because they could double as tourist attractions in theme parks and zoos. As a result, the land of Ulaya is now populated with all different types of dinosaurs that have come to be known as saurs. While many of these species are very dangerous and cause significant problems for civilized society, that has not stopped the sentient species from trying to domesticate them. Some of the herbivores have become beasts of burden, as well as power sources for machines and farm equipment. But people have even tried to domesticate the predatory saurs, and species like the Utahraptor can be trained due to their high intelligence. Domesticating the predators can be very difficult and dangerous, and as a result, riding one of these beasts has become a status symbol that represents glamour and bravery. As if the hazardous environment and predatory dinosaurs weren't enough, the land of Ulaya is also populated with giant insects. The change in environment, coupled with increased oxygen levels and rapid evolution, have allowed insects, including spiders, mosquitoes, and millipedes, to grow to much larger sizes, and many of them will not hesitate to eat a human. So that's a quick introduction to the world of the drowned Earth. It's a really cool setting, and I'm looking forward to getting more into it in the near future. There's a ton more background about the different cities and civilizations that have cropped up, and there's even some narrative stories with some characters that seem pretty interesting. I hope the company will keep putting stuff like that out, and let me know if any of that sounds interesting, or if there's any other topics you'd like to see me cover, and maybe I'll do another video in the future. In the meantime, I definitely encourage you to check out the Drowned Earth. A link to their website will be in the description. It's a really cool game, and you can even hire the dinosaurs into your crew. So that should be all I have to say, really. Before you go, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. channel. Check out the links to the Discord and the Patreon in the description. And huge shout out to the extremely cool kids tier on the Patreon, Steam Powered Scoundrels, and Dogmatized. Thanks for watching.